city to city, and then when I met Cher, and we just palled around and got along, and then just decided to live together.
For years, fans wondered why Gene Simmons never married Cher, even though their love once looked so strong. Now, at 76, Gene has finally revealed the real reason he never married Cher. Why did he refuse marriage despite his success? And what betrayal destroyed their relationship? The night Cher met the man behind the kiss makeup. In the late 1970s, Hollywood was filled with famous faces, loud parties, and unexpected connections. But one meeting stood out from the rest. It happened during a glamorous gathering hosted by music executive Neil Bogart, the founder of Casablanca Records. The room was packed with celebrities, musicians, and industry insiders. Among them was Cher, already one of the biggest stars in entertainment. That evening, Cher believed she was about to meet actress Gene Simmons. Instead, she came face to face with Gene Simmons, the bass player from the rock band Kiss. At the time, Gene was known for his wild stage image, black and white face paint, long tongue, and explosive performances. He looked intimidating, mysterious, and completely different from the kind of man Cher usually spent time with. The misunderstanding made the introduction awkward at first, but something unexpected happened almost immediately. Beneath the heavy makeup and rock star image, Gene appeared calm, thoughtful, and surprisingly polite. Cher quickly noticed that he was far more intelligent and attentive than people assumed. He listened carefully when she spoke. He asked questions. He remembered details. Instead of acting like a reckless celebrity trying to impress her, he seemed deeply interested in who she really was. For Gene, the attraction was instant. Even though he already had a growing reputation for dating many women, Cher affected him differently. After only one date, he openly admitted how strongly he felt about her.
Thing you can share with us about Cher?
Oh, she's a wonderful lady, loving mother, caring. She's wonderful. I treasure the time we.
That honesty surprised Cher. She was used to men playing games, hiding emotions, or trying to control situations. Gene's directness caught her off guard. At that point in her life, Cher had already gone through painful experiences in love. Her marriage to Sonny Bono had ended after years of emotional strain and professional pressure. Later, her relationship with Gregg Allman also became difficult because of personal struggles and instability. She had experienced heartbreak, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion. Because of that, she no longer looked at relationships in a dreamy or innocent way. Then Gene Simmons entered her world like a storm. Everything about him represented danger, excitement, and unpredictability. He lived like a true rock star. His life was filled with concerts, screaming fans, late nights, and endless attention from women. Yet somehow, Cher felt comfortable around him. Instead of feeling trapped or controlled, she felt free. Their connection did not follow normal rules. That made it even more fascinating to people around them. Hollywood could not stop talking about the relationship. Many people struggled to understand how these two completely different personalities could fit together. Cher was glamorous, confident, and emotionally experienced. Gene was loud, rebellious, and surrounded by controversy. On the surface, they looked like a terrible match. But privately, they shared something important. Both of them valued honesty. Both of them hated feeling controlled, and both of them fiercely protected their independence. The deeper their relationship became, the more complicated it also became. Gene openly expressed strong feelings for Cher, but there was one thing he never hid from her. He did not believe in marriage. Even during the happiest moments of their romance, he made it clear that he disliked the idea of lifelong commitment through traditional marriage. To him, marriage felt restrictive. It represented pressure, expectations, and the loss of personal freedom. That contradiction quietly hung over their relationship from the beginning. Gene seemed deeply attached to Cher emotionally, yet he already rejected the very idea that most people connected to lasting love. And beneath all the excitement, a difficult question slowly began to grow. Could two people who feared permanence truly build something real together? A romance built on freedom and honesty. From the outside, Cher and Gene Simmons looked like one of the wildest couples in Hollywood during the late 1970s. Their lives were filled with fame, travel, music, photographers, and constant attention. But behind the glamorous image, their relationship worked in a very unusual way. Unlike many celebrity couples of that era, Cher and Gene did not pretend to have a perfect traditional romance. Their relationship was built on honesty, even when the truth was uncomfortable. Gene spent long periods touring with Kiss, traveling from city to city while surrounded by fans and temptation. Cher understood that lifestyle from the beginning. She knew Gene attracted attention everywhere he went. What made their relationship different was that Gene did not hide who he was. He did not create false promises or pretend to live differently behind Cher's back. Over time, Cher admitted that Gene occasionally spent time with other women during tours. Surprisingly, that honesty became one reason their relationship lasted as long as it did. After years of difficult relationships, Cher no longer wanted to feel trapped. Her marriage to Sonny Bono had left her emotionally exhausted because she often felt controlled professionally and personally. With Gene, she experienced something different. He allowed her space to remain herself. There were no strict rules about how she should behave, what she should wear, or who she should become. For Gene, freedom mattered more than tradition. He often spoke openly about his dislike of marriage. For many years, he treated marriage almost like a prison that removed excitement from love. Even when discussing serious relationships, he made it clear that he feared losing his independence. That fear did not appear suddenly. It was deeply connected to his childhood. Gene was born in Israel before later moving to New York with his mother. His early life was shaped by struggle, survival, and instability. His mother worked extremely hard after divorce to build a better future for them. Watching her suffer emotionally and financially left a lasting impact on him. Over time, Gene developed a deep distrust of marriage and emotional dependence. He began connecting commitment with pain, vulnerability, and loss of freedom. As his fame grew, those fears became even stronger. The music industry rewarded his bachelor lifestyle. Fans celebrated his rebellious image. The more successful he became, the more he protected the idea that nobody should fully control his life. Cher understood some of these fears because she also valued independence deeply. As she grew older, her understanding of love changed completely. She no longer believed women needed men to complete their lives. She focused on her career, her children, and her own happiness. Relationships became something she wanted, not something she depended on. That was one reason she and Gene connected so naturally in the beginning. Neither of them wanted a normal domestic life. Neither of them dreamed about settling quietly into traditional roles. They were both powerful personalities trying to protect their freedom while still searching for emotional connection. But slowly, cracks began appearing beneath the surface. Their chemistry remained strong. Their conversations stayed exciting. Their attraction never fully disappeared. Yet the deeper their feelings became, the clearer one truth also became. Neither of them truly believed in forever. And as emotions grew stronger, another dangerous question quietly appeared. What happens when love is strong, but commitment feels impossible? The real reason: Gene Simmons refused to marry anyone. As the years passed, one thing about Gene Simmons became impossible to ignore. No matter how deeply he cared for someone, he consistently resisted marriage. It was not a short phase or a temporary fear. From the 1970s through the 1980s and far beyond, even while building a family with Shannon Tweed, Gene repeatedly made it clear that marriage was not something he wanted. This confused many people. Gene clearly enjoyed relationships. He liked companionship, affection, and emotional closeness. But whenever marriage came up, he became firm and distant. In interviews, television appearances, and written work, he often explained his belief that marriage changes love in negative ways. To him, legal commitment created pressure, ownership, and expectations that slowly damage romance. He believed that honesty and clarity were enough for a relationship to work without formal vows. For Cher, this was one of the hardest truths to accept. At first, it may have looked like Gene was simply not ready. He was young, famous, and constantly surrounded by attention. But over time, it became clear his resistance was not about timing or the wrong partner. It was a deeper belief that marriage itself did not fit his life. Even in his long relationship with Shannon Tweed, which lasted decades, Gene still avoided marriage until 2011, when he finally agreed after many years.
My family, my children, Shannon, the woman I love, the arrogance.
That long delay revealed how strongly he feared commitment. Part of that fear came from the identity he built as the frontman of Kiss. He lived as a symbol of freedom, excess, and constant attention. He became known for his wild lifestyle and his claims about countless romantic encounters, which only strengthened his public image as someone who belonged to no one. That image gave him confidence, but it also made emotional surrender difficult. Fame surrounded him with constant temptation and admiration, reinforcing the idea that independence was power. Over time, he grew attached not only to relationships, but also to the freedom that came with them. Yet beneath the confidence was a quieter truth. Gene struggled with emotional vulnerability. Deep love meant risk, and marriage made the risk permanent. It required trust he was not fully comfortable giving. This fear quietly shaped his relationship with Cher. The Diana Ross betrayal that destroyed everything. For a time, Cher and Gene Simmons seemed to understand each other better than anyone expected. Their relationship survived busy schedules, public attention, and the unusual rules they created together. Even with their differences, there was still affection, excitement, and emotional connection between them. But then one unexpected moment changed everything. It started during the Christmas season. Gene wanted help choosing a special gift and turned to Cher for advice. Trusting both of them completely, Cher suggested he speak with her close friend, Diana Ross. To Cher, it probably felt harmless. Diana was one of the most admired women in entertainment, and she and Cher shared a strong friendship. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Gene and Diana began spending time together while shopping for gifts and attending casual outings. They also played racquetball together, which gave them more opportunities to talk privately and spend time away from the spotlight. What started as friendly interaction slowly became something much deeper. The connection between them grew quickly. Diana Ross carried a presence that Gene found impossible to ignore. She was confident, powerful, successful, and completely in control of her world. Gene admired women with strong personalities, and Diana represented exactly that type of strength.
She's a self-made woman. Hey, just great. You know, in the dictionary there's the word lady. There should be a photo of Diana right there.
She was not intimidated by fame or by Gene's larger-than-life personality. Instead, she matched his energy with confidence of her own. As they spent more time together, Gene's emotions changed in ways he did not expect. He later admitted that he fell in love with Diana while he was still involved with Cher. That emotional shift became the real turning point in the story. The relationship between Cher and Gene did not collapse because of explosive fights or public scandals. It ended because Gene emotionally drifted towards someone else. That made the situation even more painful. For Cher, the betrayal cut deeply because it involved someone she trusted. Diana was not simply another woman connected to Gene's rock star lifestyle. She was a close friend. The emotional damage extended beyond romance and reached into friendship as well. As the situation became clearer, the friendship between Cher and Diana suffered greatly. The trust that once existed between them was shaken. What made everything more heartbreaking was how naturally it had happened. There was no dramatic plan or public attack. Feelings simply developed quietly until they became impossible to ignore. Gene himself seemed deeply affected by Diana's personality. He admired her discipline, confidence, and emotional control. She represented another version of the independent women he always found himself drawn toward. Strong women fascinated him because they challenged him emotionally while still protecting their own identities. But this pattern also revealed something painful about Gene himself. No matter how strong his feelings became, he always seemed restless emotionally. Even during meaningful relationships, part of him continued searching for something else. That emotional instability made lasting permanence difficult. For Cher, the truth slowly became impossible to avoid. Gene may have cared for her deeply. He may even have loved her in his own complicated way. But emotionally, he was never fully built for permanence or stability during that stage of his life. And as the relationship finally began falling apart, another painful mystery quietly emerged. The untold story behind Cher's ever-changing beauty. For decades, Cher has remained one of the most recognizable women in entertainment. Her voice, fashion, and confidence made her unforgettable. But there was something else that constantly captured public attention. People could never stop talking about her appearance. As the years passed, fascination around Cher's youthful looks only grew stronger. Magazine covers, television interviews, and newspaper articles repeatedly focused on her face, body, hair, and changing style. Many journalists eventually began calling her the poster girl of plastic surgery because of how openly people connected her appearance to cosmetic procedures. Unlike many celebrities who avoided the subject completely, Cher admitted that she had undergone plastic surgery. At the same time, she became frustrated by the endless rumors and exaggerated claims surrounding her appearance. Over the years, many stories appeared, suggesting she had changed nearly every part of her body. But Cher denied most of those rumors. She believed her personal choices were her own business and refused to let public criticism control her decisions. That attitude became part of what made her so powerful. Cher never tried to present herself as perfect or naturally untouched by time. Instead, she embraced reinvention openly. While some celebrities feared aging in public, Cher challenged expectations directly. She transformed herself repeatedly throughout different decades, refusing to stay trapped in one image. Writers and cultural observers became deeply fascinated by this transformation. In her early years, Cher stood out because of her striking features and strong ethnic appearance. She looked different from many traditional Hollywood stars of that era. Her face carried sharp lines, bold eyes, and a dramatic presence that immediately captured attention. Over time, her appearance evolved into a softer and more polished version of beauty, but she never completely lost the uniqueness that made her memorable from the beginning. By the 1980s, Cher's face had become one of the most recognizable in Hollywood. Her strong cheekbones especially attracted attention from fans and the media. Some reports even suggested that many women began requesting cosmetic procedures inspired by Cher's facial structure. Her influence on beauty trends became impossible to ignore. But perhaps no part of Cher's appearance became more iconic than her hair. Her long, straight jet black hairstyle became one of the defining fashion looks of the 1970s. The center-parted style was elegant, bold, and instantly recognizable. Over the years, the hairstyle disappeared and returned multiple times as younger generations rediscovered her influence. As her career expanded into television and film, Cher also developed a deep love for wigs. During her television variety shows in the 1970s, wigs allowed her to transform into different characters quickly within the same episode. Later, wigs became one of her signature fashion tools. By the 1990s, she used them regularly during performances and public appearances, constantly experimenting with different colors, lengths, and styles. For Cher, wigs were not simply fashion accessories. They became part of her artistic identity. They allowed her to stay visually fresh while protecting her natural hair from constant styling damage. More importantly, they helped her maintain the sense of mystery and reinvention that defined her entire career. Her tattoos also became part of her rebellious image. At a time when tattoos were still considered shocking for women in mainstream entertainment, Cher proudly displayed them without apology. She received her first tattoo during the early 1970s, long before tattoos became fashionable among celebrities. Her butterfly tattoos especially attracted attention because they reflected her love for dramatic self-expression. Back then, tattoos on women were often associated with rebellion, danger, and unconventional lifestyles. Cher understood that clearly, but that only made her embrace them more. She enjoyed challenging expectations and making people react. Years later, when tattoos became far more common, she even began removing some of them through laser treatments because they no longer felt as rebellious or unique as they once had. Even animated films eventually drew inspiration from her appearance. The creators of Tangled used aspects of Cher's dramatic and gothic beauty, while designing the character Mother Gothel. Her striking facial features, dark elegance, and commanding presence helped shape the character's visual identity. Her beauty also received formal recognition beyond Hollywood. During the early 1990s, Madame Tussauds honored Cher as one of the most beautiful women in history by creating a life-sized wax figure of her. But what made Cher truly unforgettable was never just her face, hair, or fashion choices. It was the fearless way she controlled her own image while the world constantly watched her. If Gene could drift away from someone like Cher so easily, would any woman ever truly be enough for him? Cher's painful realization about Gene Simmons. After the relationship ended, many people expected Cher to speak with anger about Gene Simmons. Their romance had been intense, emotional, and at times painful. One moment that deeply hurt Cher was when Gene developed feelings for Diana Ross while still involved with her. Yet something surprising happened after the breakup. Cher did not turn bitter. Instead, she spoke about Gene with warmth for many years. This made their story different from her other relationships, including her marriage to Sonny Bono and her difficult time with Greg Allman. With Gene, she did not feel controlled or trapped. There was pain, but there was also honesty. Cher often described Gene as someone who seemed wild and unpredictable on the outside, but very different in private. Behind the loud rock image, she saw a man who could be calm, attentive, and thoughtful. He listened carefully when she spoke and showed affection in a simple, direct way. He did not hide behind false promises or try to act like someone he was not. That honesty became the center of their connection. Gene never pretended he wanted marriage or a traditional life. He openly spoke about his fear of commitment and his need for freedom. Even though this truth was painful for Cher, she respected it because she always knew exactly where she stood with him. There were no illusions. Over time, Cher realized that Gene's personality did not hide its flaws. His love for independence and attention was clear from the beginning. He valued freedom more than stability, and emotional distance was part of how he protected himself. Cher understood this early, even while hoping things might change one day. Their relationship reflected a larger shift happening in Hollywood during the late 1970s. Fame brought more freedom, and many couples began rejecting traditional ideas of marriage. Both Cher and Gene valued independence, especially after earlier relationships that had made them feel controlled or restricted. But eventually, reality became impossible to ignore. Love alone could not close the gap between their beliefs. Gene could care deeply, but he still saw commitment as something limiting. Even in happy moments, he seemed ready to pull away if things became too serious. Cher slowly stopped expecting him to change. It was a painful acceptance, because she understood him more deeply than most people did. She saw both his confidence and his hidden fear of emotional dependence. But understanding him did not make the situation easier. If Cher understood Gene so clearly, why did another woman eventually succeed in staying beside him long enough to finally make him marry? Why Shannon Tweed finally succeeded where Cher couldn't? After the emotional chaos surrounding Diana Ross and Cher, many people believed Gene Simmons would never truly settle down with anyone. For years, he protected his image as a man who valued freedom more than commitment. Relationships came and went, but marriage remained the one thing he continued avoiding completely. Then, Shannon Tweed entered his life. Shannon met Gene during the early 1980s, long after the dramatic period involving Cher and Diana Ross. Beautiful, confident, and emotionally strong, Shannon quickly became much more than another celebrity romance. Unlike many women connected to Gene's world, she stayed. That decision changed everything. Life with Gene was never simple. His fear of marriage remained strong for decades, and accusations of infidelity followed him repeatedly throughout their relationship. Shannon faced emotional challenges that would have pushed many people away much earlier, yet somehow, she continued standing beside him while building a life together. Over time, they created something Gene had never truly experienced before: stability. Together, they raised 2 children, Nick Simmons and Sophie Simmons. Fatherhood slowly transformed parts of Gene's personality. The man once obsessed with protecting his bachelor image now spent years participating in family life, parenting, and creating a home environment far removed from the reckless rock star world that once defined him completely.
Folly of youth, in my case, I don't want to speak specifically, I want to stand up to my response.
That shift did not happen overnight. For many years, Gene still resisted marriage despite living as part of a family already. Shannon waited patiently while Gene continued repeating his dislike for traditional commitment. Decade after decade passed before he finally agreed to marry her in 2011. By then, Gene was much older and emotionally different from the man Cher once dated during the 1970s. Fame no longer controlled him in the same way. He had already achieved enormous success, financial security, and worldwide recognition. The endless need to maintain his rebellious bachelor identity slowly weakened with age. Parenthood may also have softened him emotionally. Raising children forced Gene to think beyond temporary excitement and personal freedom. Family responsibilities created emotional roots that did not exist during his younger years with Cher.
At the end of my life, because we're all going to take a turn at that, who do I want around me? Some stripper or somebody that could...
Still, an uncomfortable question remained beneath the surface. Did Gene truly change as a person? Or did Shannon simply accept parts of him that other women could not tolerate long enough? That question became impossible to ignore because Shannon approached relationships very differently from Cher. Cher was fiercely independent and emotionally strong. She understood Gene's flaws quickly and refused to wait endlessly for him to evolve into someone else. Once she realized permanence was unlikely, she emotionally accepted the limits of the relationship. Shannon, however, stayed through years of uncertainty, public embarrassment, and emotional difficulty. Her patience created enough time for Gene to slowly evolve at his own pace. In many ways, Gene's eventual marriage indirectly confirmed something painful Cher may have already understood long ago. He was capable of marriage eventually. He simply was not emotionally ready for it during the years they shared together. And after finally becoming the husband he once claimed he would never become, another fascinating question still remained. Did Gene Simmons ever truly find the peace he spent his entire life searching for? The controversies that followed. Gene Simmons, everywhere. For decades, Gene Simmons built a reputation as one of the boldest and most outspoken figures in rock music. He rarely softened his opinions, avoided difficult topics, or worried about public reactions before speaking. That fearless attitude helped make him famous, but it also created many controversies that followed him throughout his career. One of the earliest major controversies happened during an interview on the radio program Fresh Air in the early 2000s. During the conversation, Gene made an intimately suggestive comment to host Terry Gross while discussing fame and public attention. The remark immediately created tension during the interview and shocked many listeners because of how direct and inappropriate it sounded. The interview became widely discussed afterward. Gene later explained that he felt frustrated by what he believed was a judgmental attitude toward him and Kiss during the conversation. Even so, the incident remained one of the most criticized moments of his media career because many people viewed the comment as disrespectful and offensive. As the music industry changed during the rise of the internet, Gene also became involved in another heated controversy surrounding file sharing and music piracy. Throughout the late 2000s, Gene strongly attacked illegal downloading and online piracy. He believed file sharing was destroying the value of music and damaging the future of rock bands. While many artists expressed concerns about piracy, Gene spoke more aggressively than most. He publicly supported lawsuits against people who illegally shared music online and warned that artists might stop releasing new material if the problem continued. His comments quickly angered many internet users. In 2010, the online activist group known as Anonymous targeted Gene's website with cyber attacks after he made provocative statements challenging them publicly. The website was temporarily shut down more than once during the conflict. Instead of calming the situation, Gene continued making confrontational comments, which only intensified the backlash. Gene also repeatedly argued that file sharing contributed to the decline of rock music itself. He believed people no longer valued music enough to pay for it properly. According to him, the changing digital culture damaged younger rock bands and weakened the entire industry. But perhaps the most serious controversy of his career came years later during a discussion about depression and thoughts of self-inflicted death. In 2014, Gene made extremely controversial comments during an interview while speaking about people struggling with depression and thoughts of self-inflicted death. His remarks were widely condemned because many people felt they showed little compassion toward mental health struggles. The backlash was immediate and intense. Fans, mental health advocates, musicians, and radio stations strongly criticized his comments. Mötley Crüe bassist Nikki Sixx, who had publicly spoken about his own battles with depression and addiction, openly criticized Gene afterward. Several radio stations even removed Kiss songs from their playlists in protest. As criticism continued growing, Gene later apologized and clarified his comments publicly. He acknowledged that his words had caused pain and admitted the situation had been handled badly. Another major controversy emerged in 2017 during Gene's appearance at Fox News. After promoting a book on one of the network's programs, Gene reportedly entered a staff meeting without invitation. behaved inappropriately and made several employees uncomfortable. According to reports, he also unbuttoned his shirt and made jokes during the incident. The situation quickly became serious behind the scenes. Shortly afterward, the network reportedly banned Gene permanently from appearing on their programs or entering company properties. Gene later apologized publicly and stated that he never intended to offend anyone during the visit. Then came even more damaging allegations. In 2018, Gene settled an intimate misconduct lawsuit filed by an unnamed radio personality who accused him of inappropriate touching during an interview. The woman also alleged that Gene repeatedly turned normal interview questions into intimate comments. Although the lawsuit was settled, Gene denied the allegations against him. The following year, former Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley publicly accused Gene of inappropriate behavior involving his wife. Ace harshly criticized Gene afterward, adding more tension to the already complicated history between former band members. By that point, Gene Simmons had become a deeply polarizing figure. To supporters, he remained honest, fearless, and unapologetically outspoken. To critics, many of his comments and actions crossed important boundaries and revealed a pattern of insensitivity.